Morning. Try that again. Good morning. Welcome to the Bucks County Commissioners meeting for September 7th, 2022. We're going to begin with the Pledge of Allegiance.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, thank you. All right. Having a little bit of technical difficulties this morning, but we think we have a solution. We have a couple presentations to start us off. We'll begin with our Clerk of Courts, Mr. Brian Monroe, who's going to give us an update on the delinquency recovery program that he started a few years ago.
Good morning, Commissioners. Thank you for having me. I just want to start off by saying that about 2 years ago, I stood before you with a discovery and a solution, just to remind everybody what that discovery was. Actually, I'd like to go, before we go into the slides, I'd like to just do a quick reminder as to what DRIP is, the Delinquency Recovery Program. So essentially, when an offender goes through the court system, oftentimes at the end of that procedure, the judge assigns court costs, or more importantly, victims restitution. So that's money, if an offender, defrauded a victim out of a significant amount of money, the judge will then assess that as victims restitution, so money that is owed by the offender back to the victim. So one of the things that I discovered when I was elected back in 2019 and took the office in 2020 is that here in Bucks County, that there was approximately $230 million that had gone uncollected over the last 30 years or so. So one of the things that I presented to you in the hopes of bringing on a staff member or 1.5 staff members to start up this program was to, number one, collect those funds, but also in a kind of a humanitarian way, also offer a way of offering a hand out to those individuals to be able to get themselves out of debt. So how we do that is we reapproach them. So again, a lot of this is 30 years old. We reapproach them, we remind them of the debt that they owe, and then we say to them, because you have to remember, a lot of their accounts are sitting forgotten in a collections agency somewhere. So that collections agency offers, they assess the 25% fee on top of it. So we remove them of that 25%, and then the offer to them is to say, what can you afford? We're not dictating to you what you can pay or what you have to pay, but what can you afford? So that's the background on it. So if you can go to the next slide, please. Okay, so the first thing we did is, like I said, we go back about 30 years. And then based off of those outreaches, we hold about 35 hearings every 3 weeks. You can see the years that we started. So we went back to 1990, and we started working our way back up. And then you see a little bit of a jump there at 2004. So one of the things that we decided to do to try to keep things active was to start 30 years ago and start 15 years ago. And then, so those are, you kind of getting a mix of very old cases, and then you're getting a mix of, a little bit more recent cases. So we're currently working on the year 1994. Notifications mailed is about 9,000, give or take, about 8,500 mailed. You can see calls and visits is around 3,000. One of the things that we've done is we've started a texting program. So when people do commit to paying off their debts, with their permission, we put them in a texting program to remind them as their payments are coming up. And that's been very, very effective. You can kind of see the plans that are set and paying in full is 2,138, and a response rate of 35%, which is well beyond what our expectations were. Next slide, please. And before I forget, because I don't want to forget, so the person that you guys gave us permission to hire Deanna Watson. She actually was with us up until just recently, and then we hired a replacement. So I just want to shout out to Deanna Watson, and then our new employee who's working on the DRIP program is Deb Dole, who we got from Montgomery County. So this says a lot. So you can basically see the trends. So the idea is that you start with some of these 30-year-old cases, and you start putting them on payment plans. Some of them just pay outright, I got to point out. So if somebody, they forgot that they even owed this money 30 years ago, and they're in a much better stage of life than they were 30 years ago when they were going through the criminal justice system. So if they owed $3,000, some of them just paid the $3,000 outright. Sometimes more than that. But then those that start on payment plans, so if you start on 20 payment plans on, let's say, the month of January, well, the month of February, you're starting at 20 payment plans, and then if you add another 20, it goes up from there, right? 40, 80, and so on and so forth. So you can see the trends have gone up. You had the one little dip, which is about normal, around holiday season, but the trends continue to go up. So the first year, July 2020 to 2021, we raised about $400,000, which more than covered the expenses that it costs to run the program. And then in 2021 to 2022, we've raised nearly $600,000. And so the program has proven itself, and it's going to continue to elevate. It'll take, less time for us to get to the point where we are now to get to the next milestone. Just to point out a couple of things. Actually, you can go next slide. All right, so that's where we are now. So that's when I told you the last time I was here, maybe I'd come up in front of you when we hit the $1 million milestone. So, ladies and gentlemen, we hit the $1 million milestone. So, and that was done in about 2 years, give or take. So the next time we hit, the 2 million mark, hopefully it'll be maybe about a year and a half for us to get there, and so on and so forth. But the question at the time was, will it pay for itself? This is not something that's done around the state. It started in Montgomery County on a smaller level. We expanded it. To the best of my knowledge, I don't think Montgomery County is even doing it anymore. So on this type of scale, we are the only county in the entire Commonwealth of Pennsylvania that's doing this program. And that's $1 million that has just been sitting there, that's been owed to the taxpayers of this county and the state, and to the victims of this county. So again, if you can picture getting a phone call after you've been victimized 30 years ago and saying, hey, we have a check for $2,000 from you, what type of impact that would make on you? You thought you were forgotten, and this is just a reminder that we don't forget you. So again, that money is broken up by the county and the state. So it's about 50-50 goes to both. And then a smaller portion, because most of it is court costs, but some of it is also victims' restitution. So some of that is also victims' restitution. That $230 million, just to be clear, not all of it's ever going to be collected. Some of those people have passed away that owe those money. Some of those people are doing life sentences in prison. You cannot collect money from somebody that is sitting in prison. So, our best hope is to slowly ramp that up and get a good chunk of that money that is owed to the taxpayers. That's pretty much my presentation. Any questions?
Well done. Thank you.
Really?
That's great.
Yeah, it is certainly something I could tell when you first presented it to us about 2 years ago. You were very confident, and your first deputy, who you brought from Montco, he was very, very confident. It gave me some confidence, but certainly was hopeful that you would hit this mark, and I'm glad you did so, and I appreciate the work you're putting into it, and your staff too. I know how hard they work. Yeah.
If you can go to the next slide real quick, because I do want to. That pretty much says it all. That's where we are. $1,053,000, et cetera, et cetera. It is compassionate because, again, it is helping those individuals to step out of the debt that they owe, and that is actually a relief. A lot of those people that they knew that they owed it, it was a burden on them. You know, it was a stress that if they knew that they owed $10,000, you know, to the county or to a victim, they just needed a way out. So that I just wanted to make sure that we put that last slide up there because it is good government, and it is something that I am very proud of, and my staff. And you mentioned my first deputy, Mike Paston. Again, this was something that he saw that was being done in a very small county, in a very limited role. He knew it could be expanded, and he initially brought that to Montgomery County, and that was a big reason why when I was elected, I brought Mike with me to Bucks County because of this program. So again, thank you very much. I appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah. Okay, next we have a proclamation and a few guests here to mark September as National Recovery Month. Certainly for the three commissioners, there are connections in our own families to substance abuse, so we have seen it firsthand in addition to the work that we have done in our various past professional lives. Commissioner DiGirolamo has a proclamation to read, and then we'll get to a few of our guests who are here. Yes.
Thank you. I'm very honored to be reading the proclamation in honor of National Recovery Month. Whereas substance use disorder affects all communities, including Pennsylvania and including Bucks County, where more than 1 million people are affected by substance use disorder and which ranks third in the United States for overdose deaths. With the support of Pennsylvania Recovery Organization, Achieving Community Together, also known as PROACT, as well as other committed groups, those impacted can embark on a journey of improved health and wellness. The focus of Recovery Month each September is to celebrate people who make the journey of recovery possible by embracing recovery is for everyone, every person, every family, every community. Recovery Month spreads the message that people can and do recover every day, and that through recovery, people become more aware and better able to recognize the signs of substance use disorder and encourage loved ones to seek help. And I know that is true because my own son is in recovery, long-term recovery. Whereas there are two events this month honoring Recovery Month. PROACT Recovery Walk 2022 on September 17th, and that's an event that I have attended a number of times, and it's just amazing to see 20, 25, 30,000 people down there at Penn's Landing, although I understand this year is going to be virtual again for a variety of reasons. And PROACT Recovery Works Baseball, where hundreds of faces of Voices of Recovery will fill the stands of the September 24th Phillies game. And I had the honor one year, a number of years ago, of throwing the first pitch out on the field right before the game. And that was quite an experience for me. Recovery Month strives to improve the lives of those affected by substance use disorder by putting a positive face on recovery and educating communities about effective services. Now, therefore, do we, the Board of the Bucks County Commissioners, Chair Bob Harvey, Vice Chair Diane Ellis Marseglia, and myself, Gene DiGirolamo, hereby proclaim September 2022 as Recovery Month throughout the County of Bucks. In so doing, we commend PROACT leadership in organizing Recovery Month events and being there for our community throughout the years. We encourage all residents of Bucks County to take part in programs and events that support the 32nd Annual Recovery Month. Congratulations to PROACT and everyone else that's involved in recovery here in Bucks County and throughout the state of Pennsylvania.
Okay. And we do have Jennifer King, Executive Director of the Council of Southeastern PA, and Noni West, Public Policy Specialist.
Thank you. Good morning. As the commissioners have said, I'm Jennifer King. I'm the Executive Director of the Council of Southeast PA, and PROACT is one of our divisions. It's our recovery community organization. And it is my privilege to be here today. I thank you for the proclamation honoring this month of celebration.
And as an executive director, one of the privileges of my job is that I really get honored with people's true stories. And I'd like to share just a brief one with you today about a man I'll call Craig. Craig spoke at one of our events this month, or August 31st, one of our overdose awareness picnics at our Recovery Community Center in Bristol. And Craig talked about his lived experience as a person who spent many years with his substance use disorder and active use. He talked about multiple overdoses. He talked about waking up in emergency departments in our community and not knowing what had happened. He talked about family members who had lots and lots of heart-wrenching questions while he was actively using. He talked about being revived in the emergency department and then having a chance to talk with someone called a certified recovery specialist. And he talked about it took a long time. It took multiple overdoses. But 18 months ago, lots of those different pieces fell together for him in a way that means he has been in recovery for 18 months. He's been working with the CRS in our program. He's been identifying and following his dreams and his goals. He's been a father for many years, but he said for these 18 months, he's been a dad, and he's engaged in his life in really positive and wonderful ways. And it was a powerful talk, but when he was done, one of the members in the audience said, I was in a rehab facility with you many years ago, and I saw you, and you were angry, and you were ill. You looked ill. And I see you today, and you are strong, and you are well, and you are a dad. And she was in recovery herself, and she said, I'm gonna take that and learn from that. I didn't know it was possible for you. I wouldn't have guessed it was possible for you, but what you've taught me tonight is it's possible for all of us. And as I sat there and listened to that story, what I realized was that lots of those pieces of his story are things that we are so fortunate because our leadership in this government, our commissioners here, the Bucks County Drug and Alcohol programs, fund us and others to provide things like certified recovery specialists, who are people with lived experience, who walk along with someone in their recovery. That our community embraces and makes sure that Narcan is in as many hands as possible, so that when it's needed, it saves a life, so that that chance for recovery is open and available. That we provide funding to have the warm handoff program in our hospitals, and certified recovery staff are embraced in the staff of a hospital, emergency department, and other floors to be right there when someone needs support and when their substance use disorder is identified in the hospital. That window of change and that window of opportunity, someone is there to say, I've been where you are, I think I can help, can we work together? That they fund places like our recovery community organizations, the SBRCC in Bristol, the Women's Recovery Center, a residential program we get to provide. We know that substance use disorder is a disease of isolation, and we know that recovery thrives in community and belonging. And these programs create that as people rebuild their lives, identify the goals and dreams that they want to work towards, and engage the strengths and supports that they need to do so. So we're fortunate in Bucks County because we have leadership who understands the power of recovery and invests in it. And as someone whose organization gets to hear these stories every day, it's my privilege to share that with you, my privilege to celebrate recovery this month, and to focus on the many, many stories like that. We celebrate, as Commissioner DiGirolamo said, we do celebrate at the Walk. We're gonna be virtual this year. We'll have a kickoff tonight on our Facebook page. We'll be together at 9:30 on our Facebook page on September 17th. We invite everyone to walk in their community throughout the month or on that day. Safety comes first, of course, but we want community, we want teams to walk. And then we'll celebrate together on September 28th at 6 o'clock on our Facebook page as well, with the Make a Difference Awards to honor people in this work. So join us there, join us at the baseball game. I'm hearing the Phillies are doing better, so I'm encouraged that we'll beat the Braves that day. But just know that we're grateful. We're so fortunate to do the work in this community where the leadership understands it and supports and invests in recovery. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you. Keep coming back.
So I want to thank, obviously, the council and all the other nonprofits who work in recovery. But we also know that the biggest obstacle, one of the biggest obstacles, there's a lot of big obstacles, is the stigma. Being afraid to ask for help and then being afraid of how people are going to look at you. When you say you've looked for help or gotten help. And that's something as a society we have to address. And not just by telling people, hey, don't worry, people won't see you differently, but by actually living it ourselves and choosing through our eyes to not see people differently. So thank you again. It's obviously very important. All right, so we have had some technical problems. I'm wondering if Mr. Laughlin could come just to sort of explain a little bit of what's going on. He's been kind of working on this. We have a plan B for our comment period.
So Sign-In Sheets was a company we use. Currently, their site just went down. So what we could do is I know we only had, I think we had like up to 4 agenda people talking about agenda. There might have been more after that report I ran. So if we can probably just, if you signed up for agenda, can we just have some people raise their hand right now? So we got 1, 2, 3. That's 7 we have so far.
Okay, agenda items, okay.
Yes.
All right, what we'll
I'm
do,
working with the company right now. We have Chris working with the company in the back, so
Okay.
hopefully we can pull it for the general.
okay, all right, appreciate it. So what we'll do is we'll sort of call people, just basically have your hands raised and we'll call you. This is agenda items we're talking about. We don't know if it's going to be fixed by the time we get to the general comment, but if there are people who want to speak about the general, just in general about issues and it's still not, working right, we'll do the same thing. We will ask you now, for our minutes, for our secretary who keeps the minutes, we do use the sign-in sheet so she can spell names and get things like that. So we will ask you if you're coming to speak, to be just very clear about your first and last name and what township or borough you're from. And if you're speaking about an agenda item, please let us know which agenda item you're speaking on. And so I'll ask for, I know some hands right up. Ms. Brock?
I'm not sure the agenda item's number, but it's the public comment when you're limiting, that's the agenda item.
Okay.
Okay. So at the last meeting, I'm going to be talking about the public comment section of the agenda of the last meeting where I wasn't able to speak. At the last meeting, there were 9 people signed up for public comment on agenda items. One of those was Judy Dixon, who was a Doylestown Democrats Executive Committee member. When Commissioner Harvey called her name to give her public comment, she was out of the room, which, according to Robert rules, would mean she forfeited her time. I was the 9th person on the list. When it was my turn to give public comment, instead of calling me, Commissioner Harvey called Judy Dixon back up to give her comment, seeing she was in the room. Then after she gave her comment, which ended at 29 minutes, they said public comment was going to be for 30 minutes. Instead of giving me the opportunity to speak, Commissioner Harvey, after he called up his friend, who's a Doylestown committee woman, ended public comment a minute early, so I couldn't speak. This was a gross violation of my First Amendment rights. You are not allowed to do that, Commissioner Harvey. As a citizen of this county, I have a right to give my opinion. You don't have the right to use people's political affiliation and violate Robert's rules and call someone else who unfortunately forfeited their time and put them ahead of me and then not let me speak. That was wrong. PA open meeting law requires the agency to publicly notice and vote on meeting protocols and rules. Public speaking period is legally required, and the rules for that period must be publicly published and noticed on. You failed to follow that law by not having the rules available. The Roberts rules were voided when the chair yielded the floor out of order and failed to follow protocols. This is not the first time Bucks County has come against my First Amendment, violated my First Amendment rights. I've been coming to these meetings for a year now, and they've been violated over and over again. The first time was actually in August of 2020, a year before I ever came to a meeting, when I called and left Commissioner Marseglia a voicemail advocating for children to be in school, because Dr. Damsker had published guidance on June 15th that said all Bucks County kids should be in school, and school districts weren't following it. Commissioner Marseglia did not like my voicemail that I called on her public office line. She's a public official. Her job is legitimately to take the calls of constituents and represent them, okay? I left a voice message advocating for kids, and she blocked me from calling the entire government for 18 months. And then instead of apologizing when this was discovered, she published, helped have an op-ed in the Courier-Times published that was defamatory and maligned my character. And the editor who published that is no longer working for the Courier-Times. All of this simply because I thought kids should be in school. I actually was able to obtain that voicemail from a right to know request and played it for everyone. So everyone could hear it was completely calm and rational. I just wanted kids to be in school. Last week, data was published showing that 2 decades of growth for American students in reading and math were wiped away by just 2 years of pandemic learning. 2 years. We've also seen spikes in overdose deaths and a student mental health crisis that is unprecedented. I understand why the Bucks County Democrat leader Steve Santorizo published a statement last week saying we all just need to move on. Let's just forget what happened. You know what? Those students are not moving on. They can't. You've caused harm that many students may never recover from. Democrat politicians like you hurt kids, and we are just starting to understand the windfall of the aftermath and how long that is going to impact these students. This is not something we can or should forget. For 2 years, myself and others have advocated that Bucks County follow Dr. Damsker's advice to keep kids in school. And instead of listening, you've used your elected position to bully, intimidate myself and others. I stopped counting how many times Commissioner Marseglia has called me a conspiracy theorist. I don't have enough fingers on my hands to count that. And now you're suing me to hide public record emails. You filed 3 lawsuits against me and 2 against Jamie, all while calling me a conspiracy theorist. What are you hiding? When people have nothing to hide, they generally don't sue soccer moms to hide emails. What are you hiding?
Okay, thank you. Next, Mr. Warren. Mr. Warren actually had, sorry, I saw him before you.
It's up to him, but I don't want, I'll serve.
That's,
I was actually the second person.
obviously I don't have the list, so I can't tell that, but
As long as I'm after.
that's fine, sure. You're on deck, Mr. Warren.
You're the best. Okay. All right. Stephanie Anselberg, Agenda 4B4, public comment on the limiting of free speech. The ability of free speech encompasses not just the right to speak freely, but also requires the person listening to have an open mind and listen without judgment until all the facts are presented. I'll attempt to do this in the 3 minutes that you want to place that limitation on your constituents while I exercise my own free right to free speech. We often wonder how the people at the very top of organizations end up corrupt, don't we? I'll call this the trickle-up effect. This happens when you uncover corruption and deception in your own county. I'd like to bring to everyone's attention the case of Bucks County v. Jamie Walker and Bucks County v. Megan Brock, where the county commissioners pressured the county solicitor to sue these two moms to hide emails after they were granted them through an appeals process. Why do we not have transparency in our local government? And what else are they hiding from the people? Over the past few weeks, you may have heard some buzz about last year's school guidance, which was released about a year ago. It's being widely reported in news, radio, and social media platforms that last year's August 23rd guidance was not written by Dr. Damsker or by the Bucks County Department of Health. It was written by a county employee named Eric Nagy. My understanding is that Eric Nagy is a well-known Democrat Party operative and campaign manager for none other than County Commissioners Bob Harvey and Diane Marseglia. The instant they were sworn into office, they hired him at a taxpayer-funded salary to the tune of $83,000 to report directly to them. At the time, from what I've been told, Commissioners Harvey and Marseglia swore up and down that Mr. Nagy would not be political in his job's duties, but as we can see from this finding, that's just not true. We know that through a right-to-know request of documents that he was the one who wrote the August 23rd health guidance last year, not Dr. Damsker. And so he is the one responsible for the lack of scientific guidance that caused the kids to be kept out of school, including my own child. To put things simply, if our school director had followed Dr. Damsker, then no child would have been excluded from school last year due to a COVID exposure. But because of the illegal health guidance written not by a doctor, but a political operative, Bucks County students did miss out on school and key milestones, as she had just stated. We need to get to the bottom of this, and I urge each one of you that are watching this on TV and here in this audience to reach out to the county commissioners that I stand before and ask for clarification on how this was allowed to happen and why. And I want you to find a way to make this right to the children who were harmed. To watch a video that explains this in detail, please go to the Rumble platform and type in the search bar, Bombshell News in Bucks County, to hear the full story in detail of what our local government officials are doing to two moms from Bucks County who had the legal right to file a request for the information as to why the health guidance changed virtually overnight for our children. Finding the actual author of the rewritten guidance was just a bonus. And to touch on the fact that you want to limit us to 3 minutes, now while I can get my point across in under 3 minutes, some people can't. But the thing is, with the children being, excuse me?
Excuse me, stop interrupting.
It's not the point. My daughter was affected by the school guidance that they changed. I had pulled her out of charter school. She was attending the high school. And because of Shapiro suing the Supreme Court to keep the masks on the children, after we fought to get them off, they were then forced to go back to school with a stay on the court order in masks. My daughter was going into 9th grade at the high school, brand new school and knew nobody. I thank God that I switched her school and that she was able to actually start off on the field hockey team where she could see people's faces before entering a school of over 500 students in one graduating class where she knew nobody. This affected her psychologically, emotionally, and I want to read you a little tidbit to something that I found in her diary, which I found while she was actually away at camp this summer. I didn't go to school today. I'm struggling with my mental health again. I need a therapist. I feel so unloved. I don't know. I want to go back to camp, but I also want to never go again. I keep self-sabotaging, like, I don't know. Everything is so hard. I don't know. That's a 14-year-old. That's my daughter. This affected her, and she will never recover from this because of guidance that was not given by a doctor. You need to do better to the people and understand that things that happen behind the scenes that are corrupt affect all of us. That's all I have. Thank you.
Andy Warren, Middletown Township. As a recently outed card-carrying member of America's semi-fascist caucus, I appreciate the opportunity to speak here today on a couple of items. The first item would be 4A, the 3-minute proposal for next week. It may surprise you a bit, but I agree with that. I think that if we can't make our point on agenda items in 3 minutes, that's fine. You should have done it long ago. With one provision. I noticed that in parentheses, 30 minutes. Now, if we go alphabetically and there's 12 people, Warren ain't gonna come out too good. So I would hope that if the number of people who legitimately show up to comment are given an opportunity within the 3-minute period, whatever the number be. So that would be the first item. My next item would be 11A, mentions interest and arbitration. My question is, what was the cost, the final settlement of the interest and arbitration? Item 12A, $193,000, continuing the sign-on bonus. You've got to get this under control somewhere along the line. And continuing with item 12B to H refers to an update of items C and D. Doesn't have any cost on it. What are the 7 C and D items? Is there a cost related to that? Number 15 mentions settlement with a Freitag estate. I don't need to know the particulars of the case, but just what department was that in? And finally, 23A mentions funding for something at William Tennant or Centennial Schools about a interest, what the heck they call it, an internship for substitute teacher. What's that all about? Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, would have made it.
I'm Christine Heitman from Bensalem. Agenda 4B4, public comment. The USA is the best country ever, and it's because we have the freedom of speech and the freedom to address government. Limiting public speech to 30 minutes is violating both of these rights. If you, as an elected official, do something really stupid and hundreds of people show up here, then it's your duty to listen to each and every one of us. Personally, I think you're doing this because you're afraid. Last time I spoke was video evidence that I informed you that Bucks County is deleting records before the time specified by law. I don't think you like this. I don't think you're gonna like what I had to say today either. Today I have with me a number of letters of intent. Taxpayers who are going to file $10,000 claim against your insurance policy unless you do a list of our requirements. So each of us has had up to 10 records destroyed before the time specified by law. Multiplied by 1,000 apiece is $10,000. Multiplied by 10, 12, 20, 100, multiplied by 10 is $100,000. You might think you're covered by insurance, but if you look at your policy, your deductible is $10,000. You might think Bucks County's gonna pay that, but because you are aware that we're breaking the law and have done nothing to change it, that means you are personally liable for this. Fair elections is our goal, not bankrupting the county commissions. But if your personal finances get in the way of that, so be it. And you might think there's no way that the insurance company is going to give us that money. You might be right, but you might be wrong. But one thing you're going to be sure of, they're going to listen to that video where you say, quote, paper ballots are what we keep. So if flash drives are changed so that they can be used again in the next election, the paper ballots are still kept. This shows that you understood what I was saying and that you plan on continuing to violate the law. When you signed your oath of office, you signed a contract with me, and you're violating that. Whatever the insurance company says outside in the public, behind closed doors, they're watching those videos, and they're going to know that you violated your oath of office. They might determine that you are a liability risk, and if they choose to drop you from your insurance, you, as a bonded employee, need to have insurance in order to keep your job. It's going to be really tough for you to find another insurance company to take over. Diane and Jean, these letters today are addressed to Robert because he's the one that said the quote above. The two of you said nothing. Well, except for Diane, you said, quote, people don't understand about levels of government. Saying nothing and doing nothing when being shown that we're violating the law is violating the law. It's been 4 weeks, you haven't done anything. You have another 2 weeks, both of you, before we come back and deliver you letters as well. To the people out there, we kept this letter writing campaign on the down low, by invite only. But now that it's out in the open, anybody out there want to get down here before the meeting ends, you can file a letter as well. We have some extra forms for you to fill out. If not, you can email me at fixbucks@protonmail.com. That's FIXBUCKS@protonmail.com. May God save us all.
Okay, anybody else? Yes, ma'am.
Hello, my name is Beth Curcio, and I'm from Warminster, Pennsylvania. I just have a question, and so you could explain this on Agenda 10B, Bucks County Housing Group, $45,000, 100% by the county, and I'd like an answer today, please, to provide first-time housing counseling. This is a service that is totally free to any American, any Bucks County resident, through any realtor and any mortgage company. So I'd like to know who's running that, who's hired to do this. Is it a certain real estate firm that's doing this? And when is it going to take place? Because I'd like to attend. And then the other one is excuse me? Okay. Number 15, the Law Department, where Charles Joseph Freitag, is he also related to the head of the election board? And what does this compromise? Because it's kind of, a lot of these things, especially because we only get them the day before, are not really self-explanatory. So I'd love an answer on that too. And I'd also like to say, as the mother of 4, that thank God my children never had to go through all this masking crap and everything. If everyone, even those people in the room that are wearing masks today, if they would just read the side of the box, it says, does not protect from infectious disease. If you really look into this, 6 feet and mask is a satanic ritual. You can call me a conspiracy theory, but that's okay, but it is a satanic ritual. Also, those people in the audience laughing about the children, that they didn't have problems. They do have problems. A friend of mine, his buddy, his 3 daughters are in speech pathology now because of the masking. And again, the children were not affected by COVID. So whoever made these decisions to keep this and to pressure people, I have grandchildren, they're in different states and they're in very liberal states also, and the same thing happened. So it's time for us as adults to realize children are a whole different breed. We get them away from their innocence, and that's the problem. That's why we need all this counseling and this drug rehab and everything else. They're inundated by violence and sex, and choosing your sex by TV, teachers, school systems. Their parents aren't home with them. Children are our future. And it's time you take politics and throw it out the window because we have a uniparty. You guys play with each other and decide who's going to be in and decide the rules. And it's time to listen to the people of the county and of the state and do right by the children. They're our future. How bad is it going to be if they don't even know what friggin' sex they are? And they're operating on these children, removing their body parts when they're below 14 years old. It's a disgrace. And for any of us to take part of it is a disgrace. I'm done, but think about that.
Any other speakers? Excuse me. Sit down, please. Yes, ma'am. Nice job.
Good morning.
Morning.
Lori Katz, Northampton Township. I'm speaking on agenda item number 4, which is the purpose is to increase access to public comment for agenda items, 30 minutes total, by reducing per person time limit from 5 minutes to 3 minutes effective 9/8/22. While it is a positive step to see that more people will theoretically be able to speak during public comment period by reducing per person time limits, might I point out that the quality of the time may also be improved by allowing town hall style interactions if the speaker so desires. As it stands now, the speaking period is being used in a manner that can be described as a one-way street, where the speaker articulates their thoughts and poses questions that have only a chance of being discussed or addressed later. Might I suggest that the format be opened up to allow for interactions directly with the board? As an example, at last week's meeting with Bucks County Water and Sewer Authority, the public comment period was run in a manner that was conducive to back and forth discussions with the BCWSA board. Speakers were able to ask questions, receive answers, and formulate further questions in real time. The interactions also led to all participants being able to seek immediate clarifications and corrections to assumptions. It was a very constructive format and was much more informative than prepared speeches being made that may or may not be based on correct assumptions and may or may not even receive a response. I personally appreciated the back and forth interaction I had with Chairman Cordisco, and as an aside, I look forward to the authority voting no and seeing in writing the conclusive rejection of the sale of any part of BCWSA to Aqua. I understand that allowing yourselves to be directly questioned by public might get a bit uncomfortable at times, but you do make decisions that affect more than 500,000 residents of our beloved Bucks County. I have confidence that you can overcome any hesitation, and I request that this board considers such a policy change. I did limit my speech to 3 minutes because I wasn't sure if that was already going to be in effect or if it was something that you were considering. But being that you guys now have a vast audience, I think that it would be appreciated to open the floor up, maybe expand it to 40 minutes to accommodate your primetime TV-like audience now. Thank you very much.
All right, thanks to the work of our staff, they were able to recover the sign-in sheet, and I have gone through everybody who had signed up to speak has spoken except for Mr. Mackhouse. Yeah.
Thank you. Ed Mackhouse, Buckingham Township. And speaking on the increase in excess time to speak, item 4A. So I think it's okay to, I think it has 30 minutes. I would like more minutes, but if it's 30 minutes and you only had 5 speakers or 6 speakers, 5, 6 is 30, I think you should allow full 5 minutes. But if you have more than so many speakers, maybe you should have flexibility to go 40 minutes, divide up the time, so that you can try and get as many people to speak as possible. And so I like the format of having videotaped and public records. And we had the recovery people speak before. I think some of the speakers mentioned that they had children having trouble with having masking. So some students lost in some areas, like Montgomery County, about 2 full years of school because of the masking and the shutdowns of the schools. Bucks County wasn't as bad because of Dr. Damsker, who had guidance better, and professional doctors like Dr. Oz know that advocate for the health of the people. Some politicians, sick politicians, advocate for drugs. And I think that it's a sicko to advocate that drugs are a solution to everything or vaccines are a solution to everything. I'm a physicist, scientist. There's no free energy. Not everything has a cost. The advantage of public discussions, like what is the definition of war? War is the continuation of politics by other means. I think in a democracy, you need 2 parties. We need bipartisan activities. We have some cooperation here, bipartisan here, and I think that we need a 2-party system. So, like the January 6th committee has only 1 party in there. They didn't allow the Republican Party to have any say on it. In the government, you have the right to know and you have the need to know. I think you have a budget of millions of dollars here. The public has the right to know and the need to know how money is spent. And is it spent on a partisan basis or is it spent on the basis of merit? So I think the release of emails, typical emails, would help people, like they say, conspiracy theory. There's a lot of stuff on the internet. Some is right, some is not right. So it's important to separate the truth from the fiction or the anger. People get angry when they don't understand things. I think the way to solve things is by having more and better communication. And one way is to have like these public discussions. Maybe afterwards, the general 2-minute discussion could be extended to more than 30 minutes. I think, like someone said about biofeedback or going back and forth, I think that we can't survive as a one-party state. If the Senate goes completely to the Democratic side, then they could stack the Supreme Court. Right now, the Supreme Court people have justices, terrorists outside their homes or synagogues and stuff, and justices are being intimidated. It's the job of the government to protect all the people. We have to have a 2-party state. The justices and the judges should be free from intimidation. And there should be open discussions of things, but they shouldn't have terrorists come out like the Black Lives Matter people. Almost 800 damaged property in Philly. Not one of them was prosecuted. The only people they prosecuted, those real terrorists, were 6 policemen who were defending the community. So we have a job as public officials, public comments, to answer. 1 million people came on January 6th to question the election. Clinton questioned the election of Trump. Trump has the right to question the election of Biden, and Biden supposedly did better than Obama in a lot of areas to justify his beating 75 million people who voted honestly. There wasn't stuffed ballots and there's drop boxes and things. So people have a right to question the election, and we have a duty to try and assure them. I think Bucks County is pretty honest compared to Montgomery County, and we should continue that work and expand this and make sure the whole state is.
Okay, thank you. All right, those are all the names we had on the agenda sign-in sheet. Just to address some of the questions that were raised, I do appreciate, and I agree with Mr. Mackhouse on one point, we are better than Montgomery County. Other than that, I'm not really going to comment. Couple of questions. Mr. Warren asked about the AFSCME interest arbitration. I don't know if we have a cost. So I don't know if we have a cost for the interest arbitration or what specifically. Looking over here, and it's a little bit.
I believe you're referring to number 11, which was the International Union of Operating Engineers, the O1 unit, which covers the corrections officers. We recently had an interest arbitration award and had to update and ratify the contract based on that binding arbitration award. What was the question about costs?
Was there a cost? Is there any specifics in terms of who it affected, how many people it affected, an overall cost? Was the question?
I guess the highest cost would be the wage increase. The interest arbitration award gave the corrections officers 3.5% wage increase for each of the 4 years in the contract. Okay. The contract runs from 2021, it was retroactive, through 2024.
Okay, thank you. The sign-on bonus, Mr. Warren asked about. Sign-on bonuses do have deadlines, Mr. Warren. We've brought that up before. It's the nonprofits that were trying to help attract staff, retain staff. They know they have a set period of time to use that money, and then it goes away. They had to kind of make a pitch, basically, in order to get us to agree to it. So, we're not just sort of handing it out. It was a very, very long process that went through our human services, agencies, just to make sure that, we knew, we didn't give. Not everybody got what they wanted. Let's put it that way. So, well, it's everything's lasting, Mr. Warren. The B through H in terms of the contracts, in terms of the amendments to the funding agreement, Mr. Greaser.
Thank you, Commissioner Harvey. These are agreements that were signed in June of this year, and they needed to be updated already. The accounting insurance requirements have changed in the last few months, and the previous contract didn't have that. So the Exhibit C you see listed there is the new insurance requirements. Exhibit D is the disbursement guidance. Right, ARPA has specific rules, how we account for money and how we make folks who we provide this money to account towards us as well. And so those updated pieces of guidance were Exhibit C and D. And that applied to all those contracts. No additional money was awarded.
Yeah.
It was just updated insurance requirements and disbursement guidance.
A couple questions about item 15, which is the Law Department, Charles Freitag. This was in connection, there's no relation to Mr. Freitag, who works in the Elections Office. And this was connected to the Corrections Department, was the question about what connection it had. 10B asked about the Bucks County Housing Group. The Bucks County Housing, and who runs the training or who runs the sessions. It is the Bucks County Housing Group. They are a nonprofit. They work with first-time homebuyers and offer their services to help people who have never bought a home before and need assistance doing all the various things you have to do when you buy a home. Let's see. In terms of, well, yeah, that's it. Okay. Yeah, I mean, the idea of moving from 5 minutes to 3, 5 minutes is longer than most communities have for a public comment period. It's obvious, as it was today, that it is something that gets used to the fullest extent, oftentimes for, reasons which don't have a whole lot to do with what's on the agenda. It was something that was kind of discussed. I know, Commissioner DiGirolamo had to raise the idea, but yeah.
Yeah, and just to comment on agenda item 4, about reducing the time that people can talk from 5 minutes to 3 minutes. This is something that I also agree with. I mean, I know at the last meeting, I was not able to be here. I was homesick, but I did get contacted by a number of people who said that they were upset because they had waited here for a long time and did not have the opportunity to talk. So I had a discussion with the other commissioners, and we came up with this idea to lower it from 3 minutes to 5. And I do believe that people that come and want to be heard have the absolute right to be heard. And, we even had a discussion that if we go past 30 minutes, that the possibility of making a motion and extending it past 30 minutes so that people who signed up and wanted to speak could speak, I think that's doable, and I would like to see that happen. Because as was said, we do have a great country here, and we have a representative democracy, and people have a right to be heard. And if they come and invest their time to be here, I think they ought to have that right. So that's why the agenda item number 4 was changed from 5 minutes to 3. And again, if we need more time, I think it would be appropriate that we make a motion and extend that 30 minutes so that everybody that signs up and want to be heard will be heard. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Yep, thank you. Okay, all right, so we're looking at the consent agenda, which involves the minutes from August 17th, 2022. Are there any concerns or questions about the minutes as they are presented to us? Okay, then we'll include those in the consent agenda. Consent agenda includes items 1 through 24. Is there a motion to approve items 1 through 24?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Okay. So we have, next one up to regular agenda. Under Housing and Community Development, I'll go to, since Mr. Fields isn't here, maybe. Ms. McKevitt, do you want to touch on this?
Commissioners, we have our friends from Habitat here to talk about this program that Habitat is contracting with our Housing and Community Development Department. It is the first, I believe, home to go through the land trust model. So we have Florence here and
Stephanie Clark.
Stephanie Clark. Welcome.
Thank you. Good morning. As was said, I'm Florence Kowalska. I'm the Executive Director of Habitat for Humanity, Bucks County. This is Stephanie Clark, our Family Program Director. Habitat Bucks has been serving our neighbors since 1990. We have made critical repairs to well over 100 homes and have assisted 125 households in becoming thriving homeowners. And we couldn't do the work we do without the support of the commissioners, so we thank you very much. With the escalating costs of housing, Habitat is frequently the only option for the working families of our county to achieve attainable homeownership. These same high costs, specifically the astronomical costs of real estate, have also limited Habitat's ability to serve these families, families that already live and work in our county, families that want to remain in our county. Therefore, to ensure that there will be attainable housing for generations to come, Habitat going forward will sell all our homes under a land trust model, and Stephanie will explain this exciting program.
Thank you. The beauty of the land trust model is that Habitat's affordable homes will be attainable not just to the first home buyer, but to all subsequent home buyers. We are creating long-lasting affordability for generations of households in Bucks County. Through the land trust, Habitat Bucks retains ownership of the land, while our buyers enter into a long-term partnership with us as they purchase their houses with affordable mortgages. Just as before, they own their homes, continuing the tradition of putting down roots, growing, dreaming, and thriving. Our homeowners pay taxes on the full value of both the land and the house, so that the communities in which they live will remain fully funded for their and their neighbors' benefits. And the land trust model incentivizes continued home maintenance and improvements. Our homeowners build equity just like any other homeowner does. When our homeowners choose to move on, they agree to resell their home to another qualified home buyer at an affordable price. Our homeowners get to pay it forward to the next generation of Habitat home buyers. The first community land trust in the United States was created in 1969. Since then, over 225 communities have implemented the land trust model. We are thrilled to be in such good company and to have had the encouragement of our community leaders to establish Bucks County's first land trust. On behalf of the entire staff of Habitat Bucks and all of our homeowners, I offer our deep gratitude to the county commissioners and to the leadership and staff within the Department of Housing and Community Development for your financial support and for the guidance and efforts to establish long-lasting, attainable home ownership for our county. Thanks to you, our community's medical support teams, school bus and delivery drivers, retail and restaurant workers, bank tellers, warehouse team members, and more will always have a place to call home in our beautiful county. Thank you.
Thank you. Now, it's certainly exciting to kind of embark on this. We've mentioned the fact, and we're working on a couple of different angles with, and obviously you are as well, with the idea that housing is a crisis. There is a crisis in the country when it comes to attainable housing, and it is true here in Bucks County as well. Housing that, as mentioned before, Commissioner Marseglia lives in Levittown, which was a community built for, steel workers and blue-collar workers, teachers and police officers, and it functioned that way for a very, very long time. But homes now and are going for $400,000, more than $400,000, which is simply just not affordable for people, whether they're coming out of college, whether they're coming out of the military, whether they went to a trade school after high school and now they're working as mechanics or they're working as plumbers or electricians or whatever they're doing. It's just not attainable. And so I think for the future of this county, there needs to be a serious look at what we do, how we do it. We obviously have limited powers when it comes to that. We don't control zoning. We don't control land development. Local communities do that, 54 of them, and they all have their own rules. So we're going to try and do our best, but we appreciate what you're doing, bringing this to us and working with you. So I don't know if any of the other commissioners have anything to comment on. Sure, yeah.
I could just switch gears just a minute. So on our consent agenda, we have the owner-occupied program with the Redevelopment Authority. So the owner-occupied program, as you know, because you have a repair program yourself, if you could just talk a little bit about that and who qualifies for that, that would be helpful, I think, for our attendees.
Sure. So our Habitat's home repair program covers a little wider than just the owner-occupied rehab program. We also get funding from other sources, including the state DCED program for access, which are repairs that improve the accessibility. So people that need accessibility ramps, maybe interior modifications to their home so they can live safely and age safely in place. We also raise significant funding from private sources, grantors, and personal donors.
So it is also an income qualified program, so anyone earning 80% or less of the median family income in the county can qualify. Encourage anyone that has any sort of question about whether or not they would qualify, whether they have a repair that fits our program, should go to our website, habitatbucks.org, and it's very easy to sign up for an application.
Thank you. Okay. All right, that's what we have on our regular agenda. Appreciate you ladies being here. Thank you. And appreciate the work you do. Yeah. So we have on the regular agenda one item, number 25, Habitat for Humanity, Bucks County, $160,000, the home funding to construct single-family residence, 5802 Beaver Dam Road in Bristol Borough. Is there a motion to approve that item?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Personnel actions. Again, the commissioners vote on the personnel actions only of the administration, not on the rows or of the courts. Any comments or questions on the personnel actions?
Motion to approve.
Second.
All in favor? Aye. Other civics, we have a goal, $2,000, Penn Ridge Music Association, $250, Police Chiefs Association of Bucks County, $700, Potential Incorporated, $3,000, Synchronicity Recovery Foundation Limited, $2,000. Is there a motion to make those contributions?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Chief Operating Officer, Ms. McKevitt, back to you.
Thank you. Thank you, Commissioner. I have a couple of events to announce. We have another WED Talk coming up with a gentleman, employee of EDSI, which is our partner in CareerLink. His name is Kevin Watson, and he's going to be talking about how to build an award-winning culture within your business. And I think it's a very good topic if you could join. It is on September 14th, and you have to sign up on the county's website under Workforce and Economic Development. I just wanted to say thank you, a little shout out to Audrey Kenny and her team in Emergency Services for getting our funding from PEMA, the Pennsylvania Emergency Management Agency, for reimbursement for the vaccine clinics. There's a little over $8 million that will come back to the county for 2021. So thank you very much for your time on that. Also, Kevin and Angie Nagel from our Parks and Recreation Department. We just got word from DCNR, the Department of Natural Resources, that we are going to get funding for a study for the Comprehensive Recreation Parks and Open Space Plan, which is something we haven't done. I don't know when the last time was when we did this. So we're pretty excited to get started with that very soon. So, and that concludes my report.
Okay. Yeah, thank you. Solicitor's report. Mr. Greaser sitting in for Mr. Khan.
Thank you, Commissioner Harvey. County Solicitor Khan is away this week and will return for the next meeting. The commissioners and staff met with legal counsel yesterday morning, as you're aware, to in executive session to receive information, discuss personnel and collective bargaining matters, and to obtain legal advice about pending litigation. One such litigation matter that I wanted to mention is a lawsuit that was filed by the Republican National Committee in the Commonwealth Court and naming each of the 67 counties in Pennsylvania. This lawsuit has to do with the curing process, the curing procedures used for absentee and mail-in ballots. That was just filed last week. So as that moves forward, we should get some clarification on those procedures. That concludes my report.
Thank you very much. All right, we'll move to public comment period. Again, we do have our system back up and running here. Ray Post.
Ray Post, Middletown Township. I'd like to join with many of us here today to thank you for voicing your opposition to the proposed sale of our sewer system. As you correctly noted, such a sale would abdicate control over a vital public resource and lead to a serious loss of accountability. Facts that I saw were essentially confirmed in the authorities' response to your many thoughtful questions. Nonetheless, I do have a grave concern as to how such a wildly unpopular measure even advanced as far as it had under your watch. And I think a concern that many of us have in the community is what the future might hold, perhaps under a new slate of commissioners less diligent than yourselves. What with our billion-dollar public asset just hanging out there like a brass ring waiting to be snatched on the next go-around. So what I might request is that you consider some safeguards for this. You at the very least require a voter referendum before our sewers can be sold out from under our feet. And also, as well, consider some changes perhaps to the composition and charter of the Water and Sewer Authority, perhaps to include some leadership that's less tone-deaf than the current ones. I really find it hard to believe that a reasonable person would entertain such a wild proposal for more than a moment. Finally, I have a request that you also urgently voice your opposition to Senate Bill 597, Water Quality Accountability, in committee now. This bill would impose onerous and costly requirements on our municipal utilities throughout the state as an example of regulatory overreach at its worst. So thank you again sincerely for your support.
Okay. Thank you. Jamie Walker.
I brought my legal bill here my last legal bill here since the 3 commissioners brought legal action against me to hide their words and the words of their political friends. I owe $1,869.68, and the case has not gone in front of the judge yet. The 2 of you have called me and Megan conspiracy theorists and liars for the past year, while Commissioner DiGirolamo has sat there and you've let this happen. You could release these emails if you wanted to. You could have put an end to any of this. Commissioner Harvey recently stated that Megan and I are partisan because Judicial Watch is funding her. Judicial Watch is not funding me. I am paying for this myself. I am not partisan. I blame 3 of you equally for this, all 3 of you. Doesn't matter what political party you're in. You all hurt children and then brought a lawsuit against me to hide what you did. We have hundreds of emails and video proof that you have lied to us for the past year and have done everything in your power to make us look bad. Now that you had the health department put out a statement that we were basically correct, why are you still suing us? The way I figure it is the 3 of you each owe me $623.23 right now for a frivolous lawsuit. The taxpayers do not owe me that money. The 3 of you owe me that money. I am sure that you would like all this to go away. Unfortunately, all the stories now are going to start coming out about how damaging illegally keeping children out of school has been. You cannot hide what you did. You changed health guidance that purposely hurt children for money and to make your political friends happy. Then you did not have the authority to do this, but you threatened our school board members and our superintendents to.
Okay, thank you. Maureen Hickey.
Morning, everybody. I had to write it down. I'm not a seasoned speaker, so I admire those that are. My name is Maureen Hickey. I am a 30-year resident of Northampton Township. I have never before attended a county commissioner meeting, but today I come for the purpose of publicly thanking Jamie Walker, whom I do not know, and Megan Brock, whom I have only recently met. Like these women, I too felt as though something just didn't feel right around much of the COVID experience, and somewhere along the way, I tuned into their journey. Jamie and Megan, please know your courage, tenacity, fearlessness, and grace under fire have not been lost on me. While I know our children have a funny way of making us step up to the plate in life in ways we never dreamed, I can promise you that I would have shamefully raised the white flag of surrender long before now. I applaud you for your staying power in the face of major adversity, and I pray when all is said and done, Truth reigns supreme, and we become a better community for the fight endured. Thank you, Megan and Jamie. Be proud. You have every right to be here. And to the commissioners, it is difficult for me to believe that this journey had to be this way. My best guess is that when you were bestowed the honor of county commissioner and you took the oath to serve, not in a million years could you have envisioned suing a constituent along the way. Like all things in life, it is never the actual misstep that echoes in perpetuity. Rather, it is the reaction to and the behavior that follows a misstep that is remembered. I recognize that the places of power where you sit are difficult, challenging, exciting, and rewarding. At the end of the day, at the end of life, all that matters is truth. There is no doubt in my mind that each of you have done so many things well. And like me, I have to believe that together we look forward to the time when this dark stain is lifted and we can move forward to a more transparent government of the people, for the people, and by the people. Please do the right thing. Resolve this issue with complete transparency, accountability, and I thank you.
Okay. Megan Brock. Megan Brock.
Across the country, Democrats have attempted to vilify parents who ask questions and share their opinions. Remember when last fall when the Biden administration referred to parents who speak as school board members as domestic terrorists? Or last week when we heard Joe Biden in Philadelphia refer to half of the country as extremists that threaten the foundations of our republic? This is dangerous rhetoric that undermines our Constitution, civil liberties, and it is very concerning. We have not been immune to this destructive rhetoric in Bucks County. For a year, Jamie Walker and I have been asking questions, wanting to know why the county abruptly stopped following the guidance of our health director, Dr. Damsker, and instead had a political operative write health guidance that kept children out of school and caused unimaginable harm to them. You've called us conspiracy theorists. You've threatened us from the bench. You've told us we can't come to public meetings. You've attempted to silence our voices in a multitude of ways. And now you are suing us because you do not want to turn over public record emails that the state ordered you to turn over. I think you thought your bullying would make us go away, but you underestimated us. You failed to recognize that we are not politicians who are concerned with power or notoriety. We are moms who are fighting for the well-being of our children. We are moms who are willing to take your repeated attacks because we understand that if we do not act now and fight to protect our civil liberties, our children may not have the chance to experience them in their adulthood. Christina Pershaw in Florida recently said we are experiencing a parents' revolution. Parents belong in all the places where decisions are being made. Parents understand that the future of our children is at stake, and we won't be intimidated, and we will not back down.
Albert, I apologize if I get this wrong. Tielemans? Was I close?
Right on.
Okay.
Been butchered many times.
26 years of teaching, you get used to a lot of names.
Yes. So I understand in politics you're never going to make everyone happy. I just want you to know that I certainly appreciate the efforts that the commissioners have made during this unprecedented time. Your efforts to create and improve good government that works for the people, especially in bringing the citizens volunteer, has not gone unnoticed. That's it. A minute and a half.
All right, thank you. Steve Sinicero.
Good morning. I think it's still morning. I'm here today to thank you, to echo the thanks that you've heard previously about your decision with regard to the proposed sale of the sewer system. I know it was a difficult process, but I admire the fact that this board was open and transparent about its review and ultimately where it came out on that issue. And I trust that the board for the Sewer Authority will now respond accordingly. But mostly I want to thank you for what you do as the local board that controls our Board of Elections and oversees our electoral process. You know, back in 2021 in the State Senate, we had a special committee to review the 2020 election. And that was a bipartisan committee, and it reviewed and talked to elections officials like yourselves across Pennsylvania in large and small counties, Republicans and Democrats alike. And what they said, person after person, was that the 2020 election was a free and fair election and there was no fraud. And I know that that's the case here in Bucks County as well. You did a Herculean task in a time when we had a pandemic and a brand new voting system. And I want to thank you for standing up for the people of Bucks County and making sure that every vote was counted and that the result was the correct and fair result. And I know that you're going to continue to do that this year and in years in the future. And I want you to understand that the people of Bucks County, they can rest assured, and they know, that when they go to vote on Election Day, either by mail-in ballot ahead of time or on Election Day, that their votes are going to be counted. So I want to thank that service, and I want to encourage you to continue to stand up for our free and fair election system. So thank you all very much.
Yep. Fred Gaines.
Good morning. My name is Fred Gaines. I currently serve as chair of the Warrington Township Board of Supervisors and a member of the Bucks County Association of Township Supervisors Executive Committee. Speaking for the board and the 25,000 residents of Warrington, I applaud the position of commissioners have taken by not supporting the proposed sale of the authority. As a retired professional engineer with over 40 years of experience in the field of water supply and wastewater, I understand the issues that have brought the authority to this point. The alternatives to the sale will require some hard and probably unpopular decisions with financial implications that we, the ratepayers, will have to live with. Fortunately, as I can see, unlike many communities that are forced to divest themselves of their utilities, the authority is in a good position to continue to provide the high quality of services that the ratepayers have gotten used to over the years. The system is aging, but has been well maintained. There is a strong, experienced professional management team and a cadre of highly skilled workers. The financial debt is manageable using conventional municipal financing techniques. Most important, the decisions being made to operate, maintain, and finance the authority will be made in Bucks County and subject to public scrutiny, control, and oversight by the county commissioners. Thank you.
Thank you. Purcell Linden. Purcell Linden.
Priscilla Linden, Upper Makefield. I want to add my congratulations and grateful thanks to the bipartisan position that each of the three commissioners took in regard to the Water and Sewer Authority. Thank you. And I only hope that the authority will follow the chair's recommendation to deny the takeover for profit of our water and sewer system. On the other hand, partisan politics has taken over these meetings for the past year. And it started last August when there was a spike in COVID cases, where there was a change of recommendation from the CDC, from local hospitals, from the Pennsylvania Public Health Department, and a change was made to wear masks, not to keep kids out of school, to wear masks. And even that is up to the local school board to decide. So a lot of that was based on whether or not Dr. Damsker participated in the change of policy. And first they blamed the commissioners for changing it themselves and not consulting him. Lately, they've been blaming a staffer who uploaded the statement to the website. Well, Sunday, August 28th, Chris Ellery in the Courier-Times said, less than an hour after this story initially published online, Damsker sent email directly to this news organization stating he did in fact write the statement. End of story. Enough. Basta. Gnu. Fini. Stop your political vendettas. Thank you.
Jean Veronin? Jean Veronin?
Jeannie Veronin of Buckingham, and I need to say, when I heard the announcement yesterday that the commissioners had come out in not supporting the purchase of BCWSA, I was both upset and elated. Upset because I spent many days putting together something going, Alexa, set a 2-minute timer, and then trying to talk at 1,000,000 miles an hour to make sure I got everything in. But obviously very, very elated that this commission has decided to hear us and support us. And it takes a lot of courage, but the honor and integrity that you guys showed to end this, well, hopefully, end this situation of the takeover of a public utility by a private entity. I do want to ask in a final favor to please look at the restructuring of BCWSA, because I don't want to be back here in another 3 months, 6 months, etc. But I truly do want to thank all of you from the bottom of my heart for hearing us, for supporting us. As one of the little people that just feels like I never have a voice, that, you know, we get ignored and overlooked, etc., I really, really want to thank you guys for hearing us. And if you'll indulge me, my Norma Ray moment. Restructure BCWSA. I don't want to be back here. You guys are lovely, but thank you so much.
Okay. Maya Horniak?
Good afternoon, Commissioners. I also had to change my public comments after yesterday. I wanted to thank you very much for your decision to come out against the sale to Aqua of Bucks County Water and Sewer Authority. I am a ratepayer and also a representative of Conservation Voters of Pennsylvania, an environmental advocacy organization that is actively organizing across our county. So as has been made abundantly clear, a vast majority of ratepayers, community organizations, and local officials are against the sale of Bucks County Water and Sewer Authority to Aqua. Even so, it seems that some of the board established by past commissioners has undermined the purpose it is meant to serve by considering this acquisition at all. Again, I would like to thank and applaud all 3 commissioners for making your opposition to the sale public yesterday. This is clearly the proper stance to take considering the non-answers that were provided to your great questions on August 29th, as well as the ongoing public outcry. A sale to Aqua would mean higher prices for Bucks County Water and Sewer Authority ratepayers, as well as current Aqua ratepayers, like those in Lower Makefield Township, as Aqua will raise rates as much as they can in an effort to make up for this incredibly inflated $1.1 billion sale. As has been said as well, Bucks County Water and Sewer Authority is not in a state of disarray or unfathomable debt. This is a tried and true authority that has the ability to maintain itself moving forward without privatization, especially considering the significant federal funding schemes that are available for this exact purpose. Though Bucks County Water and Sewer Authority is independent of your office, your stance on this issue matters, and the route to dissolving the board is still possible if they do not immediately vote to end negotiations at their next board meeting and rather continue any entertainment of this wildly unpopular sale. So I urge you, commissioners, do everything in your power to keep our wastewater system public as you have. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. The next name is just Joe, Doylestown Borough. Ah, Mr. Frederick.
Hello to everyone. I'm here to talk about something that happened in 2020. It was the Bucks County Transition Team final report. This report was the work of 65 citizen volunteers. It was unique in that way. It has never happened before. I've never seen it before anywhere in any county. They worked tirelessly for months to produce this comprehensive plan. And they were tasked by you, the commissioners, with assessing all aspects of county government and making recommendations for improvement in critical areas. The changes including addressing information technology, economic development, energy and health and human services. Other areas such as parks and facilities were addressed along with critical infrastructure. The good news is the commissioners, in a bipartisan way, which was excellent, are continuing to implement these items. Now, some of the items that were accomplished: the county launched a long overdue new website that made this streaming possible and made it more navigable, user-friendly, and ACA accessible. The new work from home policy was recommended and instituted because the county was losing about $200,000 a day due to inclement weather, snowstorms, and anything that else went on. The pandemic created an immediate need for implementation of this policy. A new director of economic development has overseen the distribution of $50 million in small business grants from the CARES Act, purchasing of electric cars, charging stations in the new county garage, and pledging 100% clean energy in 10 years. Now, there are a lot more things that are going to be implemented and done over time, and everyone that wants to check that out can go to the Bucks County Transition Report Progress Tracker. And I want to thank you and all your staff and all the directors of all the departments and the staff in this county.
Thank you. We're at 30 minutes for this general comment period. And so pleasure of the commissioners to extend.
I would like to extend.
We extend by, keep in mind, by the way, that commissioners do have obligations, so you're assuming, of course, jumping to conclusions about why some people might be in favor of changing and some may not. We do have about 5 or 6 more speakers. If they can be concise, if they can be quick, would appreciate them, kind of doing that so that we can kind of move through here. There was a presentation that commissioners were supposed to get from our legal staff, which is not going to happen now. So that's something that we're obviously conscious of. Andrew Meehan is next. Probably, yeah.
Thanks, everybody. Great to be here. And just before I get started, something serious. A show of hands for any of the commissioners and the other folks who have seen the movie 2,000 Mules. Has anybody seen or watched the movie 2,000 Mules on what happened with the cell phone data and stuffing the Zucker boxes with the ballots? Nobody. Okay. Where is this thing here? Is that it there? Yeah. I saw the letter stating that we are going to electronic voter rolls, and unless I missed something, I didn't see any opportunity for comment or input from the public. With all the problems that we have with people not trusting these electronic machines, why would we bring more distrust into our election system? In case we missed it, we have the county executive, Mr. Harvey, admitting in public that they are breaking the election law by not preserving electronic records, which are part of the record, and rather deleting and wiping clean the USB drives and the Zuckerberg box videos after 60 days. They're admitting this in public. It's pretty astonishing. In addition, our right to know requests are being denied. So, you know, why would we expect compliance and transparency with the electronic voter rolls when we're not getting it on the other things with regard to election integrity? So I have some questions. Who will manage and maintain, and where will this data be held? At the Board of Elections, I guess. And after watching the movie 2000 Mules, how will the commissioners feel about having electronic machines and voter rolls, mail-in balloting, and dropped Zucker boxes? We have no reason to trust the system. So we want the machines retired, and we want the voter rolls wiped clean. And on Election Day, we want people to walk in and vote in person with ID. And that's all.
Beth Curcio.
Hi, Beth Curcio, Warminster, Pennsylvania. Election integrity. You know, you can tell us 1,000 times that it was 100%, and we know it wasn't. Between the movie that he said, and of course, I didn't see one commissioner raise their hand because you're just blocking it out. But we, the people of Bucks County, now you're going to even make it more electronic. That's crazy. We already don't believe that we have fair elections. And this is nothing new. This has been going on between the DNC and the GOP, picking who's going to be our elected officials. You are our elected officials. You need to respect the people. You need to do what's right. What are you afraid of if we have paper ballots that are counted? They do it in France. They're done the election by 8 o'clock. We're not done the election for 2 weeks. So, you know, elections are shut down in certain places. Floodwaters happen here. In Delaware County, it was the worst cheating ever. Read Greg Simpson's book and Leah Hoops. It's amazing, the cheating. There are pictures. There are evidence. So if you want us to feel confident about our elections, what's the big deal? Can't you win without cheating, for God's sakes? If you're so electable, do the written ballots. And now we're going to have iPads to sign in? Oh my gosh, isn't that just another way of corruption? Thank you.
Ron Cronice. Ron Cronice. Get your name right?
Yeah, it's Ron Cronice, and I live in the New Hope area, homeowner in Bucks County for over 50 years, retired CEO of a public company, and my first visit with you, so I'm going to go quickly. I oppose the sale of the sewer system. I do not see how you can possibly give a for-profit company the unlimited potential to make unlimited profit. They have done this before. They know what they're doing. They're not a charitable organization, and the consumers in Bucks County would really pay through the nose down the road if this deal went through. I would invite you to look at the reviews for this company that are available online. They are universally poor. I averaged them. 1.8 stars. You have to check 1 star in order to enter a review. So there's not many people that like them. And the criticisms of them cover all aspects of the business: their performance, their customer service, their execution. I oppose this.
Yep, thank you. Jenny Marcille Kerslake?
Sorry?
The next speaker, I'm sorry. Call the next speaker.
Thank you very much. I'm here today as the Eastern Pennsylvania organizer for Food and Water Watch, and I'm also an aqua ratepayer. So even though I live in Chester County, this sewer sale would have affected me. Thank you for the opportunity to speak. I want to thank you all for not just simply voicing unanimous opposition to the sewer sale, but also for using your authority to stop the sale if Bucks County Water and Sewer Authority did not. Thank you for that. Privatization gives nothing to the residents but higher bills, and it takes away local control. We just saw the importance of local control. The people did not and do not want this sale. They spoke up. Over 800 of them emailed each of you commissioners, and you listened. That doesn't happen with Aqua. Aqua listens to their shareholders. That's who they owe their loyalty to and whose best interest they act in. The county needs to now put in place protections to ensure that down the road, the residents of Bucks County do not face this threat again. Our essential services should not be sold for corporate gain. Thank you again for stopping that from happening this time.
Thank you. Mary Margaret Briggs. Okay. We have one speaker after that.
The first variant of COVID in 2020 was deadly for many people. The Delta variant was also serious, but new treatments reduced the mortality rate. 1762, do you know what that is? It's the number of reported U.S. COVID deaths in children through age 17 as of September 6, 2022. Thankfully, now we are dealing with a less severe variant. Still, 1762, it seems perhaps COVID was not mild for all children. I do not care if Dr. Damsker personally wrote any of the school guidance documents or not. I do not care. At the start of the Delta variant outbreak, schools should have followed CDC recommended guidelines, period. Whether or not the commissioners agreed with Dr. Damsker's school guidance approach, they had every legal right to edit it. Just look up Act 315 on local healthcare administration law. Act 315 also grants authority to direct the operation of a county's DOH to the Pennsylvania Secretary of Health. So kudos to Secretary Beam for demanding a revision consistent with CDC guidelines. Sadly, certain Bucks County public school districts made up and followed their own rules anyway. It doesn't take a rocket scientist to discover Mr. Nagy tagged the August 23rd document. Just go to File Properties and voila, it's right there, and it's been there for over a year. Why did it take so long for some folks to realize this? Someone with the tag SL Ward created the August 15th document. Does this mean Dr. Damsker did not write that one either? Enough with the gaslighting and conspiracy theories. As a taxpayer, I am troubled by the waste of county resources on the redaction process related to excessive right-to-know requests. Could you tell me from a resource allocation and man-hour time perspective approximately how much of our
Sorry, Ms. Briggs. Ms. Briggs, sorry, your time's up, sorry. Thank you. Patty Knight.
Thank you so much for giving me the time to speak. I know it's over time. I have never been to a meeting before, commissioner meeting before, but I came because I was very concerned about the sale of BCWSA to a for-profit company. And I want to thank you for a unanimous decision in opposition to that. I also believe, along with the other speakers, that there should be something put in place to protect the residents from this potentially happening again, because it's very easy to look at $1 billion and see all the things you can do with it and all the ways you can spend it, and not really consider the fact that it's being funded by the need for essential life-giving water. And profiting from this, it just doesn't feel like it's right to me. And I think to many other people the same thing. And so I would say, because we have a very well-run organization, and we do have monies that have come in from the infrastructure bill. I know I've contacted people in the federal government and also in the state government that there are monies available for water infrastructure, that we could take advantage of those things in order to offset costs for upgrading our systems as we come down to the need for that. But the main thing here is I just want to thank you for taking the stance that you did and making it known, but I do want, I'm not comfortable until it's actually not going to happen. And so thank you for the work that you've done to put forward your position on this for the board members. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you. All right. So we're going to, we have some time restriction here, so we have to move on. Excuse me. It's not, I see 4 VB public comment, that's what I see.
I signed up for general as well.
Yeah, I did too.
At 9:30 when we first came in.
All right, Diane has to leave at 12:30.
I mean, I don't hear anything new, so
Yeah,
I'm
yeah.
obliged to go on. We have people who have responsibilities.
Yeah, I'm sorry, but we do have to end this at some point. So we're going to move on. Just commenting on a couple of the things. The aqua sale, excuse me. Aqua sale, by the way, just to go over a few things, I think in a lot of ways you hear about, nobody likes to see the sausage made. And what you've seen happen over the past several months is the sausage getting made. And some people don't necessarily like it, but that's, a lot of times you see the transparency. The questions that we posed to Bucks County Water and Sewer, we made public, didn't have to. We just felt like it was a good idea to let people know the questions that not just the commissioners, but our staff were asking. That's part of the process. Making the answers public was part of the process. I think what you saw was the way a government works. In this case, you saw a Water and Sewer Authority, which is bipartisan, taking a look at an option because they have, I think, an obligation as a public entity to make sure they're looking at under every stone for any possible solution to the challenges they face. They may have come to the same conclusion we came to on their own, but we felt like it was important to exercise our right to weigh in a little bit. Speaking about the elections thing, a comment about the use of electronic poll books, which are used throughout the state. There are multiple meetings, public meetings, where people could have come and commented. We've made presentations of them. So if people just weren't paying attention and now all of a sudden they watched a movie and they look too much on the internet and suddenly they think they're experts. Excuse me, Mr. Beam. Yeah. No, thank you. Yeah, I won't be watching a movie made by somebody who was found guilty of voter fraud. So in terms of the right to know requests, looking for specific data about individual voters. Mr. Greaser, can you talk about what the law actually says?
The law says that individual ballots are to be kept secret. You are not able to look at individual ballots. You can look at envelopes that they come in. If you come to the Board of Elections, you have to be a resident of the county to be able to do that. So oftentimes we get requests from folks outside of the county. And they're not allowed to see those records via the election code.
Okay, thank you. All right, I think that was all really that's worth commenting on. Well, actually, I will put one more thing. It's because it's come up multiple times. Just, in terms of multiple right-to-know requests, no county, no government in the history of this county has had to deal with as many right-to-know requests. We do not have an idea of how many man-hours our law department has spent. We know that just for the frequent flyers, we'll call them, who do right-to-know requests, who usually come to the podium multiple times a meeting, we're dealing with well over 100 right-to-know requests in the past 12 months just from them. That's, I think, 3 people, maybe 4. To those right-to-know requests, about 5,000 pages has been turned over. And it's, at this point, that's not counting other right-to-know requests from other people who put in. So the idea that this county isn't abiding by the laws is just factually completely inaccurate. And so, that's the basic facts about that. We are going to move to commissioner comment. Commissioner Seglia.
Just briefly, I just wanted to say I was going to keep account of this, and there were 22 lies told today, mostly about the election issues. The other had to do with COVID-related things. But I do want to emphasize that this was a unanimous policy decision on all of that, and I stand proud that not one child died of COVID in Bucks County. But I do want to call out two other lies that are really significant because they're offensive. The satanic ritual of wearing masks is ridiculous. And the other one is that it is incredibly offensive to have someone say Black Lives Matter is a terrorist organization. So stuff like that can't happen.
Okay. Mr. DiGirolamo.
I'll pass on for the sake of time. I'll pass on my comments for today.
Okay.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. All right. Just to wrap up here, I just appreciate the people who have come out here and are looking for something other than just political gains, looking to take over a party, looking to spread disinformation and sow division in our county. We've seen a lot of that in the country. It's deeply concerning and troubling to see people being manipulated by people within our own county. Certainly, appreciate those who have their hearts in the right place, and that includes our staff. Thank you for all the work you do. Apologize for you having to endure much of the last 2 hours. I know it could not have been fun. And also for our row officers who are here. Thank everybody for all their work, and I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
All in favor? Aye.